All right, so I'm going to be showing you how to take your front walk cycle and add it into a setting. So let's start by looking at my students' walk cycles. Let me just download them. I have 3 of them here. This is Nicole's, Carlos's, and Gina's. Okay, so let me open up Gina's in Photoshop, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so you can see that there are extra layers here. Let me just get rid of the background layer. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to delete these templates, but before I do, I'm going to just show you what they look like. So you can see that these are templates that I gave my students of a walk cycle. This is 1 through 4, and this is 5 through 8. And what Gina did was she grayed them out by changing the opacity. And then she added layers on top to create each figure. So she created figure 1. Let me just show you here. I'm going to close all her figures here. So she created figure 1, and it was here. And then she created figure 2, and it was here. Figure 3, and it was here. And figure 4, and it was here. And then she put them all on a stack. And then she did the same thing with 5 through 8. She created 5, and it was here, but then she brought it over here. 6 was here. 7 was there. And 8 was there. And she brought them all together in a stack. I'm just going to delete the template 1 through 4 since we no longer need it. Okay, so now let me just delete layer. Yes. Okay, so now we just have the 8 figures that she drew and not the original templates anymore. And now she has them all on a timeline. I'm just going to play the timeline and you'll be able to see the character walking. Let me just, hold on a second. I want to go through the whole process of how she did that. So let me just delete the animation and show you. So once you're done creating your stack, I'm just going to save it as walk cycle stack. Hit save. And there you go. Okay, so now I've got Gina's walk cycle stack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click window and then timeline, and you'll see usually it'll say at the bottom, it'll give you a choice between a video timeline, which you don't want, and create frame animation, which is what you want. So I've already created the frame animation, and now I'm going to just go here and do make frames from layers. So then I'm going to just hit the shift key, change this to 0.2 seconds so that it walks a little bit more slowly. And when I play it, you will see that this person is kind of hopping from one foot to the other. They're walking. So I know that the walk cycle works correctly. I know that they're in the right order. They're walking forwards, not backwards. The figures are lined up correctly. These are all things I want to test out. So now I'm going to go to Adobe Animate, and I'm going to do File, File New. full HD, 24 frames per second, HTML5 canvas. I'm going to hit create. Okay, I'm going to make this a lot smaller so that I can see the whole timeline, so I can see the whole stage. Now, I'm going to do insert new symbol, and I'm going to call it man. It's going to be a graphic symbol. I'm going to hit OK. I'll just call it Jaina, just because then I'll remember who created it. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm now inside the graphic symbol, and I'm going to do File, Import, Import to Stage. Now, I picked Jaina's walk cycle stack. I clicked select all layers, and down here, convert layers to keyframes. Very often it's on animate layers. You want to switch it to keyframes. That's very important. And you also have to check up here, select all layers, import, and I now have all the keyframes of the animation in here. So now I'm going to go back here to scene 1, and if I go to my library and I find this Jaina walking man, I can bring it in. Now it's very big, so I'm going to hold down the shift key while I make it smaller. I've clicked into the free transform tool, but if you don't hold the shift key down, it's going to get distorted when I change its size. So I'm going to pull the person up here. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to create motion tween. Okay. And I'm going to pull this out to 10 seconds. Okay. And I'm going to make my character go off the edge of the page. It's going to come towards me and off the edge of the page. So I'm creating a motion path. But as it comes toward me, it should get bigger. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and make my person get bigger as they come towards me. So now I'm going to just go here. Now let's look at my 10-second animation. Let me just click here, and let me show you in its most primitive style what it looks like. Okay, so now I've got this person and they're running really fast. I'm not sure I want them walking that fast. So I'm going to go here to properties, and instead of 24 frames per second, I'm going to change it to 12. And let's see if that makes them walk a little bit more slowly. So let's hit play. I'm going to collapse the timeline a little bit because right now it's only got one layer. I'm going to go to the beginning and hit play. And I think that this person is walking at a much more reasonable speed now. Okay, so you get the basics of how to do a front walk cycle, but we're going to be talking now about creating a setting. So I'm going to go to my classwork for advanced design to creating settings, and I'm going to get this Photoshop file, which is the settings template, and I'm going to download it. I've got to open it in a new window. I've got to download it. No, I don't want to do that. Download. And I'm going to double click on it. It's going to open in Photoshop, and you're going to see that I have sky, sun or moon, mountains, and trees. Now, if you're doing an indoor setting, it might look a little different, but it's going to have the same 4 layers. So first I'm going to go to my sky layer, and I'm going to pick a foreground color. Let's see. Pick a nice red. I've got a background color that's kind of a blue. Maybe I'll make it more of a bluish purple. I think that'd be pretty. Okay. So now I'm going to do a gradient. So let me find my gradient tool. There it is. And I'm going to just click and drag. It's going to go from foreground to background color. Okay, and I think I want a gradient that's more like a sun. So I'm going to start at the bottom and go up. And I'm going to use this type of gradient. Let me see. Start here. All right, I really, there we go. I really like that. Okay, so now I've got this sky. I'm going to just lock this layer. And now I'm going to go on to the sun or moon. So I'm going to go to my shape tool. You might find a rectangle, but underneath it hidden is an ellipse tool. It's going to say the fill color is red. I really don't care what the fill color is. I could even make it black. Doesn't matter. But I want to have no stroke color, just a fill color. All right, now I'm going to hold down the shift key so that it's a perfect circle. And there we go. So I want to give it a gradient overlay. So I'm going to do layer style, gradient overlay. And there's a lot of different styles of gradient. I want a linear gradient, I think, and I want it angled this way, I think. Okay, and as for colors, I could do blues, purples, oranges, pinks. Let me try the pinks. That's pretty. That's pretty. It's too orange. I think I really like this one. Okay, and you can change the angle again. You can change the scale, change the opacity. Kind of like it half pink, half white. All right, so there's my sky with a gradient overlay. The next layer is mountains, and I want to make my person kind of coming towards me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some changes to the color. I think I'm going to make the mountain kind of dark green, and the top of the mountain where it's far away, I'll make kind of a light kind of grayish blue. Okay, so I'm in my mountain layer. I'm going to take my lasso tool and I'm going to just make some mountains. And then I've got to go all the way around the bottom, around the side, and up the side. Close the lasso, and I'm going to make a gradient that starts out green and goes to kind of a grayish blue near the top. All right, I don't want this type of gradient. I want the linear one. So let me click on the linear one. All right, I think it's too bright a green. Rather than change the foreground color here, I'm going to do image adjustments, hue and saturation, and I'm going to desaturate it and make it a lot lighter. So it's got that kind of grayed out because it's far away, fading in the distance look. Okay, so now select, deselect. I'm going to add a new layer, new layer. And I'm going to call this one Mountains Closer. You can call it anything you want, but I just want to kind of know what it is later when I bring it into the animation program. All right, so let me see. I'm going to make this a little greener at the top. And let's see. All right, and then I'll make it a little slightly bluer at the bottom. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to take my lasso. I'll make another range of mountains. Now I'm going to make sure that I see the other mountains through it. So they're going to kind of peek through. Uh-oh, I forgot to bring it around the outside. So anyway, so let's see, go here, up, down, and then you have to go around the outside edge and close your lasso. Otherwise it won't work. And now here's my gradient tool. And I'm going to click here and drag up. So I really like those mountains. Select, deselect. All right. And maybe I want to make them a little brighter because they're in the foreground. So I'm going to do image, adjustments, hue, saturation, and let's see. I'm going to make them more saturated. And let's see. Image, adjustments, brightness. I'm going to make them brighter. Okay. And I think that I would like it if they were a little bigger. So edit, transform, scale. If you hold the shift key, it'll allow you to stretch them in just one direction. So that's what I'm going to do. There we go. All right. And I think I'm going to hide this layer and also stretch these mountains. So edit, transform, scale. Hold the shift key and I will stretch these also in one direction. All right. And maybe I'll bring the sun up with my move tool just a little higher so we can see it. All right. So now I'm looking at my sky and I think it would be neat if I could see that red part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my mountain layer. I'm going to take my eraser and you can adjust the size of the eraser, make it bigger. And I'm going to just kind of create like a little valley in here by erasing. I think it would be nice to see inside here. All right. All right, now if I really want to distort the mountains, I can also do edit puppet warp, and I can kind of drop a pin here and drop a pin here to anchor the mountains. Drop a pin here, and then take this and sort of grab everything and go down, this and grab everything and go out, and just really distort the mountains. Play around with that a little bit and hit the check mark. Ta-da. Okay, I think that's much more interesting. And now here's the other mountains in front. And I'm going to do the same thing with those. Edit, puppet warp. Uh-oh, I'm in the wrong layer. I don't want that. I want these mountains. Edit, puppet warp. All right, so why don't I grab this? I'm going to put some pins here. Put another pin here. Put another pin here. These are the things I don't want moving. Okay, and I'm going to take this and drag it down. I'll take this and drag it out. Drag this out. Drag that out. I think maybe I'll drag this up. But I'll also drag it over here. All right, let's see what happens. Pretty cool. Okay. I'm going to just bring it down a little bit because I don't like that gap at the bottom. And I think this is a very interesting mountain range now. Okay. So in the foreground, I'm going to make some trees. Um, let me grab my brush tool. I'm going to add some brown. I'm changing my foreground color to brown. Okay. And I'm going to just take my brush tool, make sure it's got a hard edge, and I'm going to go off the edge of the paper and draw some trees real quick. All right, so I'm going to close the bottom of the trees with a line, and I'm going to close the top of the trees with a line. Don't worry, I'm going to fix it later. I'm just going to take my wand and select the inside, and I'll do Edit Fill Foreground Color. Foreground color, okay. All right, select, deselect. All right, now I'm going to use my eraser, and I'm going to erase part of the tree to create some branches. And I think I'm going to create a lighter color to create some texture. So I'm going to change the hardness to 0, and I'm going to change the opacity of the brush, and I'm just going to create a little bit of texture. Oh, I'm on the eraser tool. I don't want that. Control Z, Control Z. I want the brush tool. So make the size bigger, make the hardness 0, make the opacity real low, make the size a little bigger. And I think because the sun is on this side, I can add a little bit of texture here. All right, maybe I should make the opacity a little lower. Yeah, it's better. All right, now I've got a kind of an interesting tree. All right, so let me take the, let me find the burn tool. Let me make it wider. And let me add some shadow to the side. Oh, I don't want the burn tool to be so hard. There we go. Let me make some shadows over here. And I'll use the dodge tool, which is the opposite of the burn tool. And I will make that bigger. And I'll add some highlights over here. So what the dodge tool does is it takes the pixels underneath it and makes them lighter. The burn tool takes the pixels underneath it and makes them darker. So now I have kind of a nice 3D tree. So now I'm going to do layer, duplicate layer. And I'm going to do edit, transform, flip horizontal. And I'll bring this second tree over here. So it looks like it's also accepting the light of the moon. And it's now also reflecting it. But I don't want the trees to look identical. So I'm going to do edit puppet warp. And I'm going to play around with this tree. I'll drop some anchor points. And I'm going to just pull the branches out and down, and I will play around with making the trees not look too identical. Maybe I'll bend the branches more interesting. Now, I have this nice background setting, and now I'm going to save it. So File, Save As, save on your computer. It's called setting template. Why don't I just change it to setting? And it's going to be in my downloads. It's going to be called setting, and it's going to have all these layers. In my next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to bring it into Adobe Animate and make it look like it's coming towards you in space. So that'll be in the next tutorial.